things that we try to emphasize is that ethics isn't something that you just get trained in and you're done. Ethics is something you live. It has to become part of your everyday experience.
I think there can be a little bit of a conflict between sort of nurturing your graduate students as they try to make this difficult transition between being good in the classroom and figuring out how to do research and sort of the pressing need to go make progress as fast as you can.
We have an interesting culture in the sense that I always have a regulatory agency watching over me whether I like it or not, right? So I would say that ethics kind of is imbued in you from the beginning.
A lot of times when I invite research participants into the laboratory, we use deception in our research, and it's not something that we undertake lightly. But if we didn't deceive our research participants about the full nature of if we told them, about the full nature of what we were doing, then they would behave in accordance with what they thought was expected of them rather than what their natural behavior might be, and we wouldn't really get an understanding of social dynamics that might lead some groups to be penalized for group membership, others to benefit from their group membership, and so on.
If I do an experiment in the lab or I do a calculation and those are the facts of it, now I go to the sponsor and I tell them, and the sponsor wants to hear the answer they're hoping to hear. And how far are you going to take facts to the spin to the sponsor, and how you bridge that gap.
But ultimately, the data tells a story that need to be told, and you need to be true to those data. And sometimes it's frustrating.
Maybe the first and foremost thing is to get the science right. And if you've read a bunch of science, which I have, and especially maybe in biological science, which we've sort of segued into, it's often dead wrong. And that just means, I don't think people are dishonest out there. I don't think they're faking stuff. I think they're not controlling enough things in their own laboratory in a lot of cases. So the professor pretty much gets to set the tone for what qualifies as okay, what do we think we really believe, what needs to be repeated, all of that kind of stuff. And so I think that's really important. In the long run, the science corrects itself. So in a way, fraud isn't sort of a long-run project in science. I think it does correct itself, at least in the kind of science we do. But in the short run, we have to self-correct, and I think that's really challenging because we all sort of built these experiments with a goal in mind, and we have hopes and dreams for the experiments, and then when they maybe don't come out quite right, that's when there's sort of the moment of truth for you.
Well, a lot of times when you're dealing with data, you need to actually have established a priori, before you ever even look at your data, and it's going to be true in other disciplines as well, what are the principles by which you include or exclude different of the responses.
A lot of them don't get out of control, and you deal with it very quickly. The doctoral student changes advisors, right, within the department, or they get an advisor of record in another department that solves the problem because the topic area works out. And those are the ways to solve it quietly, nicely, and not create an issue.
It's unfortunate that those things happen. They do create those, I hate to say it, teachable moments. If you don't have the integrity of that scientific process, then you don't have anything. And what's the point?